As someone who talks and thinks and weirdly too often dreams in a foreign language, I'm fascinated by the impact the set of words we use to communicate has in the way we think. It's one of the reasons this series came about. I set out to explore this idea of a director who grew up with one language, but now works in another.
I don't talk like that. I'm from Ottawa.
And see what would be different. What I found was that when they make movies, while their language and identity do shape the way they write and direct their stories, they ultimately communicate through the universal language of film. Of the three directors, I'd say Guillermo del Toro is the one who speaks to the broadest audience because he's fluent in a second universal language. In a recent interview, Del Toro said his movie is called The Shape of Water.
Porque el agua, como el amor, no tiene forma. Y cuando aparece, puede aparecer en una persona del mismo sexo, de una edad muy diferente.
It comes in 1,000 shapes, but in the end you recognize it. All of Del Toro's movies are sprinkled with allegories like this, with metaphors and symbolism. So you get an idea of how often he does it. Here's less than a handful concerning the villain of Shape of Water.
Two fingers. Okay. Put them away and just wait. What?
We're burying a time capsule at the new school. And I wanted to ask you, do you think we'll all have jetpacks in the future?
Believe it, son.
Oh, bus is here.
Oh, dear God, change that awfulness.
Listen, fellas.
Sit down!
Even his final arc, much like Captain Vidal in Pan's Labyrinth, is symbolic of the way he lived. His destiny fits into Del Toro's overall thesis of battle between those who have a voice
Count these stars with me, son.
and those who do not.
They make no sound.
The allegories Del Toro employs have grown increasingly stronger throughout his career. In Cronos, his first movie, one could easily miss that Jesus Gris represents an anti-capitalist force in the battle against the looming invasion in the wave of the North American Free Trade Agreement. Del Toro's Spanish-language films were rarely criticized for their bluntness, but plenty of critics jumped at the opportunity to point out that the subtext in The Shape of Water is right there on the surface. And that's true. It's a story of oppressors versus oppressed, which is made pretty obvious by its troop of society's outcasts.
Zelda D. Fuller. That's not common, is it, for your people? Liza Esposito.
Mute, sir.
Silence.
My name is Dimitri.
What I'm not sure is true is that Del Toro is at any fault here. There's a time for subtlety, and then there's 2018 America.
Cuando paso por la aduana, inmigración, y no importa si hago cine o no hago cine, en determinados momentos, en determinados rumbos, entrego la tarjeta de manejo, lo que sea, y dicen, usted es mexicano, y ahí acabó la discusión. Lo que vivimos ahorita es un tumor, pero el cáncer lo teníamos de toda la vida.
If there is a tumor in our public sphere, like Del Toro suggests, subtlety doesn't seem to cut it anymore. The over-the-top allegory might just be the filmotherapy that the doctor ordered.
This is America.